All right, they changed it up on me. There was supposed to be another speaker first, but of course, never quite works out that way. I'm the PEO for Command and Control. My portfolio includes a number of things. The Global Command and Control System, Global Combat Support System, MNIS, Multinational Information Sharing, and also Joint Planning and Execution Services. But since we're talking about what the opportunities are for next year, I'm going to focus on GCCS-J, okay? And the reason for that is the biggest piece of my portfolio, and it's the one that has all the major contract actions coming up this year. So first I want to give you a little background on where we are with Command and Control, okay? I guess as you all realize, we had a program called NECC. That was canceled 2 years ago. The money for that program went back into the services, did not come back into the C2 portfolio in DISA or the other services. And there was something issued called the Do No Harm Strategy, okay, that basically said we are going to continue to sustain and synchronize and do a very little bit of modernization on the GCCS family of systems, both at the joint level and within the services, okay? That has not changed. That is where we are right now. There was an AOA done. The AOA has not been formalized. It has not resulted in any other change in direction at this time. So going into FY12, we are still operating in that do no harm strategy, okay? Within GCCS, we have 3 baselines, okay, that we have to carry forward, okay? We have the global baseline that includes the COP and the I3 components that is fielded to multiple sites throughout the world, 53 sites that we handle, but it's also fielded to 1,700 other sites controlled by the services. The global baseline is also the baseline that is incorporated into the GCCS family of system variants provided by the services. The second piece is JOPS, Joint Operation Planning and Execution System, a strategic server enclave that provides execution planning and support for the COCOMs. That's going to continue on. The third piece of the baseline is GSORTS, Global Status of Readiness and Training System. That had been in my baseline, and just to let you know, by congressional direction, we could not fund that past FY11, okay? We were going to get funding for that from USD-PNR to continue the sustainment of that, but based in the last couple of weeks on some agreements with PNR and the DoD-CIO, that effort is fully going to transition out of my portfolio and is going to become the responsibility of the DERS Integration Office under USD-PNR. So if you look at these slides where it says GSORTS, that's a recent change. It's coming out of my portfolio. So the efforts around GCCS in the upcoming contract efforts are all focused around the global piece and focused around JOPS. Okay, these are the only 2 pieces. So there are 5 contracts. Okay, these are the 5 major contracts that provide C2 support within my portfolio. They are all coming up for competition and renewal this year, okay? If you are interested in getting into the joint C2 or the C2 game in DISA, these are the areas that you have to focus your effort. These are the big buck contracts that I have. These are all going to be coming up this year. I just want you to note that even though it says they're all going to be awarded in the second quarter of FY12, we have to look at that, and I have to look at that with contracting as to how to phase those in over the year, because it probably presents too much of a programmatic and technical risk for me to try and award those all in one quarter. So they're going to be phased in over the quarter and over time to be able to reduce my technical and program risk as we continue to evolve these capabilities, okay? Once again, if you are interested in C2, in DISA, if you're interested in getting in the game, these are the things that you have to focus on next year, okay? Dave Mihalchik earlier today gave you 6 things that were predictions, okay? I want to go one better, and I want to give you 7 things that if you are thinking about bidding on these or you're thinking about giving support to C2 and DISA that you should really be considering and thinking about when you're putting together your proposals for these, okay? And these are critical, all right? Number one, and this is really my number one, we cannot afford to start from scratch on anything, all right? We have to carry the existing baseline forward, and we have to do it in smaller pieces and smaller increments. So I'm looking at how to take this monolithic system development approach I have, break it up into smaller pieces, add pieces of technology where it makes sense, and carry it forward, okay? Once again, we're not going to start from scratch. I'm not going to have the money to redo major pieces of this all at once, so we're going to have to do it small pieces over time. Number two, you need to be familiar with the JC2 objective architecture. Okay, that'll be in the bidder's library and things like that. And that what we are doing is we are taking C2 and making that part of the net-centric DoD. And what I mean from that is we just don't want to create a net-centric C2 space. We want C2 to be able to use and consume data and services from the enterprise and other communities, and expose data and services to other communities as well. That's really critical. You need to be familiar with that objective architecture. We had a session on it, and we'll make those documents available. The third one was the net-centric DoD, excuse me, that related to the JC2 objective architecture as well. The fourth one, I am looking for creative and innovative solutions, okay? If you listen to the presentation this morning by Paul Moritz, he had a slide up there that talked about how in the DoD he showed a slide, and that was actually part of GCCS, the Agile Client, and how a product was used to improve the performance that is 10 times greater than what's done in private industry. Those are the type of things that we're looking for, creative and innovation, to be able to come into our environment so that we don't have to build our own code, that we can replace pieces of code with COTS software. And the reason for that is I really have to lower sustainment costs. I cannot continue to afford to sustain the capabilities the way they are. I need to find a way to provide services. I need to provide a way to virtualize and globalize things so that I don't have all these sites that I have to maintain. And I need to be able to take those sustainment costs in the out years and plow them back into modernization, okay? Fifth one, this is not just about technology, okay? So when you're thinking about how you can help me out, it's not just about what technologies you can bring to the table. It's also what other process improvements you can bring to me to help with my delivery cycles and how I do delivery of these capabilities. I really need to look at how we actually develop capabilities and deliver the software in the environment. Sixth one, you have to understand our mission space, both from a technology and a missions perspective. That's not to say that you have to be experts in C2, but you have to understand the critical nature of the customers we deliver to, what they're expecting, and the fact that we just can't throw things away or have downtime. We need to have those capabilities out there all the time, because GCCS is the system they are using at the joint level to prosecute the mission every day, okay? And we're getting that back. It is not going away. It is not being replaced, all right? And the seventh one, and this is really broader than me. I've talked to Ms. Miller about this before, and it presents a problem not just for me, but for a lot of the PEOs. We need to have creative ways to look at licensing agreements, okay? The normal licensing agreements and the way that they're done right now really are killing us. If I have large spikes in procurement or large spikes in R&D to have to procure licenses, and then when I have to scale things to go back and have larger spikes for scaling things up, it just doesn't work for us. So we're looking at we really want you to look at financial arrangements that are creative in how we can level out those spikes over time and give us the ability, if something is working well, to scale it without getting killed, okay? And I just want to end before questions and saying we're really looking at competition, all right? If you look across these, most of them are in 1 or 2 vendors, 3 vendors. We are looking for competition. So again, if you want to get in this game, it's just not coming to talk to me. You got to put your money where your mouth is and start trying to compete for these jobs, and I want that competition. Okay? Questions?
I should learn to walk like General Pollitt when he walked out of here, right? A little bit faster. My name is Bob Natale with MITRE, Mr. Gross. I noticed that you have these 2 contracts, one for systems engineering and one for security engineering, split across 2 vendors. And I'm curious as to how you feel that's working out in terms of building security into systems from the systems engineering perspective.
Well, the security engineering is looking at the infrastructure products that and if you read the details that are in here, when you'll see it, you'll see that it looks at the details of the security for the system infrastructure and how that's put in place. So it actually is integrated in because the security is built into the infrastructure that we provide. So the question is, as we go forward, as talked about earlier, how are some of those security features going to be built into the application, and we need to look at that.
So just one follow-up. So currently, do those two vendors collaborate?
Yes, all our vendors collaborate together.
Okay, thank
it is a big team, and that's the way it needs to continue. So whoever comes into the fold, we're going to expect collaboration across the board. They have to work together.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you.